Who is sitting in the room with me?
My name's Ryan Smith.
And I'm Nick Allen.
And then, like, who is Ryan Smith and who is Nick Allen?
Yeah, we're here from Oklahoma City, and I'm a singer-songwriter. I play guitar, and
in this context, I guess I should introduce myself as a double bass player who plays with Ryan. And also we just all met at a poetry open mic where I was reading some prose because I consider myself a writer as well as a musician. The two arts that I participate in as much as I can and feel inspired to do. So,
yeah.
Oh man, that was a great intro. I want to go back on mine.
You can explain more.
I mean, like, who is Ryan Smith? Or Nick Allen. It's like, yeah, we're just some guys that live in Oklahoma City.
Yeah. We've just been playing music together for a few months now.
Yeah. We're big in East Texas.
Yeah. We had a first music gig. One of my first music gigs, I think, ever. Playing at a bar down in East Texas near Tyler, about a month or so ago, and that was wild fun. I mean, it was 3 hours.
Yeah.
Mainly covers, but
lots of covers.
Yeah, it was
a lot of which were very fun to play. So.
Yeah, it was really great. It was a lot of country songs.
Yeah, we make music that is, how would you classify, like, folk music, I guess?
Yeah, I don't like the term folk pop, but
it's pop. I mean, pop structure, you know.
It is structured
chorus.
That way. So
it's like most music that people listen to is probably pop music.
Yeah. This is the hard thing about, I've had hundreds of musicians on this podcast. So, like, genre is bullshit. We can just, like, get that out of the way right away. Like, genre isn't real. You can just be a creative person and make the thing that you want to. And if one day you write what might be classified as a folk song, and then the next day you write a rap song, it doesn't change the fact that, like, you're still making music or you're still expressing yourself creatively. So yeah, I mean, but we also have to sell ourselves to an audience and be easily classifiable. So
yeah. So adding nuance to things, I feel like I could call our music folk music and feel okay with that, knowing that, like, it's just expedient to do so. It doesn't actually define our sound, which we're also still figuring out because we've only been playing, you know, for a few months.
Yeah. We really only had a house show, which was the only time I think that we've played a full set together.
Yeah, of just
originals.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to say anything but whenever you've got a stand-up bass and a guitar. And you're singing into a mic.
And I'm playing ones and fives and slapping it and dancing around.
Very folky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do you even use the bow?
I do.
Oh,
yes,
he does.
And I use the loop pedal too, or at least I try to. So I got a little pickup on my bass that I can plug into. That's hard to pull off live with two people though.
Yeah, to stay in time and
it's tough. But we've pulled it off successfully twice. Yeah. So
there's a Boss RC300 behind that curtain right there. So I know full well the struggles of one, looping by yourself and then looping with other people, making sure that other people can hear it, making sure that it happens all right. Yeah. Because, like, a single mistake on a looper and you got to start the whole thing over.
Well, on mine, you can erase the previous recording. Right. Yeah. So I'm practicing a lot of loops right now because I'm going to be playing with a couple of rappers.
Ooh, yeah.
At the end of the month.
Can you plug that? Because that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want in here.
I'm playing bass and doing loops for Finite Galaxy on April 29th at 4 p.m. at Yellow Dog Coffee, which is the weekend of Norman Music Festival. I think somebody told me today that that's the same day Chance the Rapper is doing his free show in Norman. So
in a way, you're opening for Chance the
Rapper. Yeah, because it's at 4 p.m. Chance sure as hell's not playing at 4 p.m.
Right.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Playing Norman Music Festival has been like a dream I didn't know I had, because I just never thought I'd be able to do it. But and then playing at a coffee shop with some really good local rappers is super duper exciting.
And you got scouted just off of doing loops on Instagram, right?
Yeah, I post videos of just me playing the double bass with the loop pedal. Yeah.
Yeah. Sandeep is the kind of dude that he's a real go-getter. He he sees a thing, he likes a thing, he'll reach out, he'll be up in your face about it because he likes to get shit done. So
yeah. I mean, he messaged me and then we met up like a couple days later, and it went super well. I'm very excited because I didn't know if it was gonna work out. It's like I'm gonna be like playing loops on my bass. Like, what is that even gonna? Yeah, it was hard to conceptualize until I actually was in the studio with them doing it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's rap music, so I mean. It's all loops.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I don't have to worry about like being in sync because they'll just have to be able to hear it, and that's really all.
Yeah. So I guess how did this musical collaboration begin between you two?
Well, I guess that kind of gets us back to the name that we're gonna kind of stick with now. We've been playing around. I mean, we haven't been playing together for too long, so the names we've gone by so far is we just various names that I don't even know if it's worth mentioning, but
necessarily.
The name that we're sticking with now, we're calling our duo Compost Adjacent.
Because we met doing compost adjacent things.
We compost on the weekends. We would pretty involved in a compost lot operation at a local urban farm, not too far from here actually, on Saturdays. And yeah, that just seemed to kind of fit the, I don't know, aura of.
It feels right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels
and it's
right.
fun. It's a fun name. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's how we started playing. Well, we started playing music together. I remember I have a very strong memory of sitting around last fall.
At the land?
Yeah, at our friend's land. And Ryan played one of his songs, or he played a couple of them, I think. But I just remember, like, I heard it and I just really wanted to play with him. I wanted to play. And yeah, and then I told him that. And I haven't really done that much before. I've played when people ask me to, not always super, eager to do it. But I was eager to play with Ryan and we got together, started playing together.
Man, I'm glad you did too. It's been a hell of a ride. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, I had never really played music out loud to other people before, so that was quite a bit to get to share that just, with friends and stuff, just kind of around a campfire. But yeah, oh man, what a trip, like going and I mean, we were kind of just handed the gig at that little restaurant down in Texas. But oh man, I mean, I guess the first time that I had really performed was at that one of the open mics in town.
Red Dirt open mic.
And that was just nerve-wracking just to play two songs that I had written like years ago, but to finally get it out there, and it was a warm reception, and it just, I was like, oh, okay, this feels right.
Yeah, it's always a great crowd there.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, then having like a double bass behind you,
Yeah, the one, just everyone should go to open mics, even if you're just gonna like say two things on stage. Like it just really makes you feel comfortable and welcomed. But also the Red Dirt open mic specifically is a extremely welcoming space. It's probably one of the best mics in town.
Yeah, I think so. I'm excited for it every month.
Yoko has really cultivated a cool spot.
Yeah.
Let me ask about like, well, first, like, is music sort of like your primary thing, or like, I don't know, the hard part of doing this creative thing is that it doesn't actually make a lot of money. And so it's like, do you want it to be your life, or is it just like another thing on top of everything else?
I don't know because I feel like on one hand it would be nice for music to be, you know, lucrative, but then on the other hand that is a very chaotic, you know, thing to court, it seems like, which I sometimes thrive on. So I don't know. It's certainly like my goals are all short term with music, which is just like, what is the next thing I'm excited for? And for me, that's just playing our music for people on stages, however, you know, at venues that I like to go to.
Yeah.
That's just the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And house shows just for people outside, you know, playing outside. Very fun.
Yeah, playing that house show for friends was probably the most like nervous I've ever felt to play for people. But it was kind of eye opening to. I think, you know, I mean, I would be lying to say that, like, you know, I think most people that play music, like, you would obviously want to be successful at it, and, you know, yeah, if it was lucrative, that would be incredible. But I mean, you're needing to be an entrepreneur on so many levels to just scrape by, you know, let alone traveling, which, you know, would be awesome, you know, to, you know, one day kind of tour around the region or whatever. But yeah, right now it just kind of getting down and grinding and figuring out what the set's going to look like, and just kind of really letting our sound kind of stew for a minute. And I don't know, I would love to play music so much more than the work that I'm doing.
Which is why it would be nice if it made money, because then we could do it more.
Yeah. 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 That's where it's hard to like kind of answer that honestly, because it's like, oh, it feels, you know, inappropriate to say like, oh yeah, I'm going to drop my day job and play music. But it's like, well, that is what I would want to do.
If it happens, like,
yeah, if it happens, then that's incredible. I would love that. But you know.
Yeah, I would too.
but like, yeah, I guess the thing is like, what are you called to? What is beckoning you? Because I mean, for me, it is music. It's always been music, and like, it is my primary passion, is going to always be my first love. And even though like I spend a lot of time doing podcasts and audio related things, like I do kind of make it known that like making music is really where my heart is and always will be.
And you got some good shit, man.
Thank you. But like, yeah, that's the other part, is that like I've made this, depending on the perspective, terrible decision to like base my entire life around this nebulous thing that is creative expression in music. And maybe sometimes like that's not the best approach. A lot of the most like successful bands I've heard of had an approach of just, let's just do this thing and we're doing it because we like it.
Yeah.
And then it happens.
Well, I mean, that's how like Chat Pile got big out of the city from, they were in lots of bands before, before the guys that are in Chat Pile now were in lots of bands, and never got big. And then, got together as that group, had a sound that really resonated across, the country. And I think they're doing like an international tour now. But yeah, so that was, took a while. Sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah.
I think music for me is it's always been incredibly healing. And, even if, I don't play another set for anybody else, like always just, the morning is kind of my creative hours. But just like screaming out or whispering song, whatever, but just playing through, whether it's ad lib or something that I've written, that's always been a special time to like, cause I don't typically write, poetry or even journal for that matter. And singing has kind of been that time of, self-reflection and meditation. And
catharsis.
Yeah. And I think that's always going to be there for me. Just because I haven't really made, financially wise, I haven't made my life about, orienting towards music and yeah. But, I'm going to keep playing and
that might be like a healthier approach. Like, like if it, if you're not putting all of your everything into that basket, like it's just a means of self-expression for you, then, you can go the rest of your life just playing to max 10 people and still get the most enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
And like, that's awesome. So, I mean, yeah, it doesn't have to.
Just having like, it's really been encouraging, playing some of the open mics and other stuff. And, a couple songs that I've written kind of dealing with, one song in particular dealing with, death of a friend, decided to take his life. And that's a really rough song. And I haven't really edited it too much, after I had written it, and it was shortly after he had passed. And anyway, I had played it at an open mic, and it was impactful to have people come up and just kind of share their story and just similar experiences, and just kind of realize like, we're all feeling the weight of the world right now. I mean, we always are, but just getting to share that and feel that like from other people, and like know like, okay, this isn't just my words, like this is, I'm embodying what other people are feeling as well, is just, I don't know, otherworldly.
James Baldwin says suffering is your bridge. Suffering it's a bridge between people. So it's like you share something that is heavy on your heart, and it's like you put it out there, and then there's other people who also reach out into the same space, and it's just a way to connect. Yeah.
But God, man, I'd love to write a happy song. We have yet to do that. I think we sat down the other day and we were like, you know what, we're going to write a happy song. And so I wrote on the top of our notebook, I wrote happy fun song #1. And I don't think we wrote a damn thing. Yeah.
Well, you can't force creative, expression. It's like, or inspiration. It moves through you.
Well, I thought writing down the words on the top would be the,
yeah, could
I thought that would cultivate something, but it didn't.
It's a skill, right? And I mean, and as a writer, like it is a skill, and you hone it and you craft it, and yeah,
and you find your voice.
Yeah. So I mean, like there is eventually a spot that you can get to where you can just go happy fun song and put out at least a passable happy fun song or something. But like, if it means anything to you, or if it like does what you want it to, or that is kind of where it goes somewhere else, to where it's like, even if you are forcing it and like getting something out of it, is it like, what's it for,
Yeah. Yeah. Like I do not like releasing writing that I don't like,
Yeah.
And music is similar. Yeah.
Well, there's this weird paradox that happens when like deadlines are a thing, which are great inspiration, unless you don't hold to those deadlines, which also definitely happens. I forget which writer said it, but it was like, oh yeah, I love deadlines. I love the sound that they make when they go whooshing by.
Exactly.
But like, and then the other part is like, even if you put something out really in like a rushed state, or you go to an open mic and you're just like, oh, this thing isn't done, but like, and then everyone sort of accepting it anyways, and then you get to like see what's there that you still enjoy about it anyways, and it's like, oh, maybe it didn't have to be what I thought was perfect.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
What I thought was holding it back.
Most of the times that we play, like, well, all of the times that we play, you're not singing, you're playing with your fingers and not, missing a beat, and it always sounds great. We're really looking at me to like, okay, is Ryan going to remember all the words?
That's fucking hard, I don't.
Yeah. And I don't always remember all the words, and it's been encouraging to like, because we really don't even have anything like formally recorded. So nobody knows any of these songs. So if I miss a whole half of the song, or even just a few words, like nobody knows. Yeah. And it, and yeah, I mean that it's been encouraging, just like, people coming up afterwards and like, that was great, or, whatever. I don't think anybody said great, but
that was fantastic.
We've gotten fantastic.
No greats yet. Yeah. We're working our way up.
You got to fill in the gaps, and you get fantastic all the way up here, but like, great, you gotta,
We need more mid songs.
You gotta work for that. You gotta have some happy fun songs for great.
Yeah. I mean, at the open mic tonight, the stuff that I read was just like, it's like if writing is like, you're regurgitating a lump, and then that lump is like unformed, and you like get your hands in that clay and mold it into something that then is presentable, or then you're happy with and conveys what you wanted to convey. Like tonight I was just showing my lumps, and there's something useful in that too. And just sharing in general, whatever creative, expression that you're working through.
This is something that I wanted to move towards, which is like creative community and creative spaces that like, these kinds of relationships and these kinds of, fusions and bands and stuff like that, like they happen only because there was a space in the first place to like allow it. Well, I guess in one way, like what's been the situations that you've been in that like have allowed for that to happen, and then like how can we keep making that happen?
Right. I mean, I guess in our particular circumstances, like Compost Adjacent, like we just volunteering at a local urban farm, like we every so often the community there will host a time that they call it common play, but just people in the community will come and just bring guitars, tambourines, whatever their voices, snacks.
A great idea, you know?
Yeah.
Getting together and making music for the hell of it. Yeah.
And it's great, you know, just playing folky tunes, playing whatever. And then, you know, I'll bring my guitar if I don't know the song. We're just noodling. But yeah, it just opens the door to all sorts of connections, you know, with other musicians and, you know, writers. And I mean, just all sorts of creative folk.
Yeah. So what have been those places for us, in terms of music? I don't know.
I mean, you've had a lot more like experience playing with all sorts of people.
Yeah.
Just with your education.
Yeah. I mean, I got a degree in music from OU, and that was nice. Like, I mean, it would, but I don't really do classical music anymore. So it's like, but now I know some good classical musicians. But what is nice about that is it's a space that's made, that's there. And what's not nice about that is it's fucking expensive. And I'm not trying to join an orchestra anymore anyways. So it's like, it doesn't, if that's not what you're trying to do or join a jazz band or an opera, or I don't know, do that big stuff, it's not actually necessary to connect people who are talented and make music. But I can't think of, I mean, we didn't meet through musical means, but then actually we connected through music because of meeting up in this shared community space and then playing music in that shared space.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a lot more of that. Hopefully we'll be playing lots of just free shows that can foster those connections.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe paid shows.
And paid shows, going back to that other question.
Sure. I mean, I talk a lot about music education because like I've spent a lot of time in music education as well. At this point, like if I had known what a master's degree in music composition would like look like on the other side, I wouldn't have paid for it. Like, but I mean, I'm really glad that I did it, but I also know what it took to like get there.
Yeah.
And I could do that by myself.
Yeah. So I having gotten a degree in music and also having this long-standing love of writing, but not studied it in school. What I am trying to do and find in this city is the bits of like a creative writing program that I think would be really beneficial to my writing practice, which would, so one of the big things that would entail would be being with other writers and having critiques, you know, and sharing and supporting and bolstering and connecting with creative writers, right? Because you get that in a school. You get that if you're a musician with musicians. You get that if you're an artist with other artists. Yeah, so the Red Dirt Poetry Open Mic is a great place that connects writers. There's there's lots of open mics. I do a writing group every month. That's my stated goal, especially because I've heard that like writing is the loneliest profession, which is true because it's like you're working on something you're, you know, with yourself and your own emotions and thoughts. But that means that we have to do things to keep us from being isolated as writers, which means joining critique groups and writing groups.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, talking about cultivating spaces, like you've successfully, you know, put on this writers group, you know, every second Tuesday of the month.
Currently.
Yeah. I mean, you're also in the works of like putting together an actual like writing critique group.
Yeah. Which, if anybody listening has tips. I did not go to school for this, so I don't, I have some friends that do, or actually just really one friend that I know, shout out to Frankie, who actually went through the system and is going through the system and has great, wonderful advice and critique whenever we share things and do critique. So if anybody knows more about that world, I'm trying to do it, but I'm kind of like, paving the path as I walk it.
Mm-hmm. And that seems to be the way to do it. Like if you don't see a space and you're wanting to be in a space like that, or you want to work on stuff, or you want to play music with other people, like put it out there. Yeah. Who knows who's going to show up, but that's not really what matters. It's just that, you're putting out into the ether, like your interests.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be takers. I mean,
yeah. And there have been, it's been a consistently attended event, which has been really nice.
Right. I mean, it's easier in a big city.
Yeah.
Sure.
But
sure.
With music, I mean, everybody plays music. Doesn't matter where you go. There's going to be musicians, and that's one thing I've been learning just with kind of how we met up through our urban farm experience, and just playing around with people there, and just seeing how that community's kind of cultivated itself, and like, it's just a neighborhood, and just kind of, it seems like something you would see out of like a 90s sitcom or something, but well, maybe not that example, but just like, like just a neighborhood, just being present for each other. And I grew up in a suburb. I did not experience that. And, it's just a good example of like, okay, this is what I want to see. And, I'm on my end starting to do that just in my own neighborhood. I'm not playing music with my neighbors, but, just getting to know people, which sounds so dumb.
Wait, well,
it's really hard to do nowadays.
We live in a very atomized, alienated world where most people are spending time working or at home or in between work and home, like the majority of the time of the day. And very little good happens when you're at work or when you're at home alone. It's in the third spaces that really people connect and need to be encountering each other in.
Mm. And for generations like ours and younger, and church is no longer a like frequented place for most of us.
Yeah.
And there is no space where we just come together intentionally. And we do have to intentionally create these spaces.
Or find them, because they are there, right?
Yeah. And you just have to look for it. And something that I was noting is that like, since you have like a very, Nick, you have a very like educated background in music, whereas like, I don't know about your educated background in music.
I do not.
Yeah. So like, but the difference is that like you heard his music and you go, I want to play with him. I see that like,
I like it.
And so like game recognized game regardless of like the level of And so I don't think like it's not necessary for, and you're talking about like your writers groups as well, as like, you don't have to have someone there that like has a doctorate in whatever to like be able to share in writing and be like, I like this thing or I don't like this thing.
Yeah. This works for me and this doesn't work for me. Yeah.
I mean, I see it a lot like kind of like with language. I mean, music is language, but you're very well versed in a lot of musical language. And I'm just picking up. I mean, I'm well versed in like my musical thought. Well, not even really.
You have a musicality. You have musical talent or whatever, like ability. You can sing well,
But it's building up, and I'm working at it, and I think that's the key is just consistency. But like I'm not as educated, and like I can't speak musically with as many people yet. So when I'm trying to, musically talk with other people, it's a little bit, sometimes it's pretty rudimentary if I'm playing with people and I don't know the music. And I'm just going to just noodle on some scales because I don't know what else to do, which is fine. It is what it is.
So there's another that reminds me of last Monday, right? There's a spot in Edmond called the Patriarch. They do Irish music.
Terrible name.
Yeah, great place.
Great bar.
And great music. Great night to be there. But we went, I brought my double bass, he brought his guitar, and anyways, speaking of good places to meet musicians, events like that, when musicians are coming together, that's where you find musicians. You know?
Well, and I think it's a really good thing that one, knowing that like, Ryan, you're kind of out of your depth. You're like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but still putting yourself in that situation anyways. And that's the best way to learn is that like, hey, I'm not the smartest person in this room. So let me learn from people who are better than me at this. But there's still something that you're bringing that can't quite be described right away because people like Nick are seeing your music and being like, there's something there that I want to be a part of.
Yeah.
And that doesn't require any sort of like formal education, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is the best way to learn, like you said. So if you want that, if that is something that you want, and like if you want to be able to speak that language, that particular language that is, very informed by my specific, training in music or whatever, then you can start to learn, pick that up piece by piece and just learn as you go along. But yeah, that's just the language to talk about music. But the more important thing is, that music behind, that you're actually making and singing and playing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's like, we're going to have mentors in life, whether we like it or not. I mean, hopefully we find whatever word you want to use, mentor, or just people to learn from,
elders,
whether they're older or not.
True.
And I do not learn well off of a book. I do not learn well just off of YouTube videos, but like playing with other people is just, I mean, that's like the difference between like online class and actually being in person. Some people can do it. I get, maybe I'm like, all of the rest of humankind, the past millions of years that didn't have the internet. And like, I really do need, I get a lot more out of like being in physical presence of like musicians that really like have learned their craft and know what they're doing. And even if I'm not going to like come even remotely close to what they're doing, just like seeing the way they're doing it and just being in their presence is just,
I'm really interested in like a master apprentice kind of dynamic for education. And because I feel the exact same way. Like I don't want to learn through reading about something. I'd much rather learn by doing it or by being shown by somebody that knows what they're doing and is like a master at what they're doing, or master whatever, like just somebody that knows how to do something that you want to do and learning from them in a reciprocal relationship. That's like ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and when I speaking for myself, when I get like put off or frustrated, like when I'm at home alone, I'm trying to learn a song or a scale or whatever, and I'm not picking it up, that frustration just kind of like, yeah, all right, screw this, I'll just move on to something different, and then I do. But like having that like kind of mentor or just somebody that's knows what they're doing, like in your presence, it's so inspiring. It's so inspiring to just keep at it.
Yeah. We were talking about Victor Wooten the other day, but he learned a lot of his bass playing from playing along with like Miles Davis, like CDs, because it's like you can't get in a room with Miles Davis, but you can play along with him, because you've got his music. So it's like I try to learn writing through reading writers that I love, because it's like, whoa, how did they do that? That was, Yeah,
you were getting called out the other day.
Yeah, I did.
With your writing style.
Yeah, so I just had been reading some China Mayville, who's a British weird fiction author.
I was about to say, explain that.
Yeah, kind of, it's weird stuff. I don't. He's a good writer, but I was reading some of them, and like the thing I was working on, I'd finished reading it for my writers group, and somebody that came recognized my Mayville influence for that particular passage, and said, "Oh, that reminds me of China Mayville," and I was like, "Oh shit!"
Right? Which, how niche?
It's like whatever, what you consume, you expel.
Yeah, well, I mean, and there's this thing in today's episode of Capitalism Ruins Everything, like the fact that we have to like protect intellectual property for the sake of like making money off of it, instead of like the jazz tradition of like, here's a thing that someone did and I'm going to quote it, like, you get it, is very like, you just can't do that anymore. And so it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to like steal this thing. I like it. It's good.
Yeah, that's true in the folk tradition too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Folk and jazz, and I mean, in any kind of music that
isn't academic or isn't necessarily ruled by money.
Right. It's not academic. It's not pop. It's like this music from, people. Below. Yeah. From people. There's that reciprocity between the artists of like playing each other's stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like half of the stuff that I'll just like ad lib is just a regurgitation of Hank Williams chords, which is just 3 chords over and over and over again. And if I want to change it up, I'll just put a capo on and play the same chords.
And it's so funny that like, I mean, going all the way in the like music theory rabbit hole and like coming out the other side, it's like, wow, there's so much here, like at first. And then you really learn it. And then it's like, wow, 12 notes really isn't that much. And then like we really only use like 7 of them most of the time.
Yeah.
And then really like you can do so much with just 2 or 3 chords.
Yeah.
Like, so that's not even all of the notes necessarily. So like, cool. Like, yeah, like it, once you get advanced enough, it gets simple again. And so it's like, sure, I'm regurgitating this Hank Williams stuff, but like also it's good. And there's a reason why like he was able to do so much with 3 chords. And there's a reason why you're able to do so much with 3 chords.
And why his music was able to connect with you.
Yeah.
Right. That speaks, not like, oh, Hank Williams, like that was the beginning. And it's like, we're evolving. Like, I feel like Western culture has this like fetishization of like progress and evolution where we like have to, I mean, like the just shit that drove me crazy a little bit in music theory class in college is just like these tonal pieces that just sound like garbage because it's like this like flawed logic. It's like, okay, we moved from like, you know, from one line of music to multiple lines, and now like we're playing at like different keys at the same time, and it just like sounds fucking awful. It's like maybe my brain is like not advanced enough to like appreciate it.
Yeah, but you're also not a fucking robot.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's like, so sure, here's like 12-tone serialism, and like there's a lot of cool mathematical stuff going on in there, but like
just like a hobby for these guys. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So I mean, like, yeah, whatever you get back to it, like, I don't know what the fuck Milton Babbitt was listening to for pleasure, but like, man, you should go back to those 3 chords because it sounds good and it does something, and you can say something on top of it.
This is not to shit on atonal music entirely. I do like a lot of, not a lot, but I like some atonal music. But yeah, it's just not to prize any specific type of making music over any other, right? Because like one of the most amazing things about music with 3 chords or 4 chords or 2 chords is, or 1 chord, is that it's very democratic. Like the reason like punk music exploded was because they were playing very simply, right? And like the influence in that genre is you know, pretty huge. And same with folk music. The reason folk music is what it is because it's accessible to people.
Yeah. I mean, that's what got me to learn, you know, if all I had to reference for learning to play guitar was atonal music, like screw this. Yeah. I'm not even going to try it. But, you know, just playing 3 chords, at least on my end, like it's just so much fun to mess around with like all the different vocal ranges and just to go out. I mean, you know, I'll just ad lib on just playing E and throwing in a 7th note and just play 1 note. And I, you know, I can sing for hours.
I love drone music, and that's like that. I'm just imagining doing that like on 1 chord, and just, you can get, because when music changes a bunch, that can be exciting and invigorating. And when it doesn't, that can be, you know, just as pleasurable, but for different reasons, you know? So just like listening to the same chord for a while, if the texture and the soundscape is like, you know, doing something beautiful, then I love that.
Yeah. I mean, context is everything, right? So like at some point, again, with like highly expressive music or highly emotional music, like I think of metal, for example, like, and metal also started pretty simple, just like, hey, here's simple stuff, but like pretty fast. And then you get like prog metal and like, here's 12 time signatures and like crazy fast licks and stuff. And like, it's cool and it's a lot, but like there's a time and place for it. Yeah. And so if you're not feeling that, it still doesn't say anything for you. And if like, and if what you're feeling is like writing a song about your friend, like that, it doesn't matter how complex it is because it's very true to you.
Yeah. For real. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't, you know, I really don't mess around with, I think most of the songs that I make up are like just a variation of E and A and maybe B7. And then fortunately I've stumbled on you and you've helped add like a couple extra chords in there. But
the last song that we played that you wrote, that was, you know, it wasn't just E and A.
No, I think that was like 6 chords.
Yeah, there's like 6 of them.
And there's a bridge. There's a bridge finally. I have a song with a bridge in it.
It's not just verses.
No, and an
bridges
outro.
are hard.
Yeah.
Bridges are hard. I had no clue. Which that was fun. I mean, we basically just turned one of the verses into a bridge.
That's true. We took the words, but you know, took the poetry of it and put it in the bridge, and it works. Yeah.
And that's the other part of like where you can like do so much with so little. And that's why traditional song form has stayed for so long, because it's pretty much the hero's journey encompassed in a little thing. And it's like, yeah, of course this works and it's simple, but that's why everyone keeps doing it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we've got, there's one song that I had written before we had met up, and it's only 2 chords, and you introduced your loop pedal and the bass to it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
We can make that song go on for days if we really wanted it to.
I'll just keep doing stuff in the background to just like add to the soundscape. Yeah.
And it creativity. I mean, throwing in percussives. I mean, it's just, it's just a blank template to, I don't know, you're boxed in with 2 chords, but it didn't.
Well, there's,
I feel boxed in. You kind of branch out of that, but I guess like vocal range wise, like
you go all over. Yeah. You get very creative with your vocal performances.
Just wait until he hooks a mic up to that looper, and then you'll have to start doing loops.
It's true. I got 2 inputs on it.
That's true. Yeah. We haven't messed around with that at all.
Yeah. We've talked about it, but yeah. I didn't think about the vocal. I didn't think about the vocals. So could do that. Because none of your guitars they're all acoustic.
Yeah, they are.
So,
and none of them plug in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Is there something that you're afraid of? Maybe like lyrically or content wise, not necessarily musically, because we just did a whole rant about it doesn't have to be complicated, but but if the feeling is where you're at.
I mean, like, so I guess more personal, going through a divorce right now, and just through this time of separation, I just been leaning more into music for it. Just the cathartic moments of just kind of screaming out, whether it's her perspective or my perspective or whatever. That's been new to me. To singing about a friend dying is one thing, but singing about something that's deeply personal and is in real time happening, it just feels like it's scary to kind of air your dirty laundry. And I'm just noticing that a lot more of the content that whether I'm ad-libbing or even writing down, is just a lot more truthful to where I'm at. And that's a lot scarier to present. Cause I'm not used to, just putting it all out there. And I don't know if I'm going to be the kind of person to just be putting stuff out there. I mean, here I am putting this out there, but as far as music, it's made it a little bit easier to process and grief. It's a grief process. And to present it though, like it's made it easier because it is boxed in, and it is a little bit cleaner than my scattered brain, and every week my thought process and everything is it's a little different. So yeah, I mean, it's scary to tell the truth. It's scary to be real and vulnerable and honest.
Yeah.
And I feel kind of new to that show.
I remember when we were working on this last song, we were talking about the lyrics, and you were pretty intentional about the honesty of the content. Isn't it? It was important for it to feel true to you and your experience. Like you didn't want to just like say something you weren't feeling or whatever because it fits in the song. And that's important, I think. Keep your music authentic as you possibly can.
Yeah. What the most recent song that we've been working on, we call it Linger. But it's not too terribly long of a song, but kind of touch in some of the lyrics just about resentment. And that's been something that just been having to process, is like how much resentment, not necessarily for my spouse, but just like resentment for so many people and things in my life, whether it's, familial relations or the, church trauma or whatever. Like there's just a lot of resentment build up, and just kind of having to realize, like, I have a lyric in there of like, I'm drinking the poison expecting her to feel this pain, and nobody's going to be feeling this pain. Church trauma, nobody in any of my religious upbringing background, like, is going to hear any word I'm saying or even care a lick about what I'm talking about. I'm the only one that's feeling any part of this pain.
But suffering is your bridge.
But suffering is the bridge, and it's opening up so many other conversations with just, other people that are feeling a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
And a lot of, and it kind of a tangent, but it's cool to process stuff and like really scream stuff out. And the more I'm screaming out, the softer and softer it gets. And the more that those feelings kind of, they don't really dissipate, but
you externalize them in some way, and then they're able to like have a lifespan,
be understood. And
yeah. And it's not just, every day isn't just triage phase. It's just a little more real, and
actual healing happens.
It turns out, which is nice.
Yeah. And I'm sure, like, maybe a long time from now, maybe you'll still keep playing these songs, and then they'll be true to you in a different way. That's something I've been noticing in playing a lot of stuff that, like, I wrote a long time ago.
You're saying that?
Yeah. It's stuff from over like 10 years ago.
Content, yeah.
And how they've sort of been reframed by the rest of the experience. And it's like, it's not even necessarily, like, these songs aren't even necessarily true to me anymore, but in some ways they're more true because of how deeply I understand them in a complex way that I never understood whenever I initially wrote it.
Yeah.
Do you have an example from one of your songs you're willing to share?
Yeah. So it's funny that, like, the second song that I played tonight is called Right Now, and it is about being mad, and it was a way for me to, like, put myself in my partner's shoes, and that it was like, I don't know, at the time, and I'm sure a lot of men tend to deal with this, is that, like, we tend to be fixers. And so it's like, hey, can I, like, make you feel better? Yeah. It's like, don't make me feel better. Like, let me sit in this. Please sit in this with me. Yeah. And it's taken me so long to, like, and I wrote that song a long time ago, and it, like, every time I do, I understand it in a deeper way, in a more real way, and, like, in a way I'm understanding what I was trying to do to myself by, like, writing it in the first place. But yeah, just the more removed I am from, like, the initial time that I wrote it, the better I am at understanding what it was that it was trying to say.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, that's just real weird brain magic.
Yeah.
Where your brain was like miles ahead of where you were at that moment.
The illusion of time.
Well, sure, but also
It's
like
not linear.
the emotions were true.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what it was communicating first. But then like to understand them in a more like intellectual way, like that has been a processing that's taken a long time as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, the emotions are still true, but like I can understand them better now.
Yeah.
Like
you were saying, going to school for music theory.
Well, no,
it's like you knew how to play, but
right. The thing is that like all of this musical knowledge and rigor and academia has helped me to understand what is happening. But it's hardly ever been a priority for academia to understand why. And that's still like, I have a master's degree, and those were still like the harder conversations to have with instructors. That like, I had a fucking argument at a teacher's house that like, nah, man, like the text absolutely informs our understanding of the piece. You can't just look at the like what's on the score. Like they wrote notes on it. They were writing in the journal all the time, or if there's fucking lyrics, like, and the fact that like academia doesn't value that as much, even though it's been here the whole time. Like the emotional intelligence is part of the musical experience, but like academia doesn't give a damn about emotional intelligence. It only cares about intellectual intelligence.
Yeah.
And things that are quantifiable too.
Yeah.
Right. Qualitative things are harder to form logical arguments around and make, nice points about. So they tend to be overlooked in lots of academia, I feel like. Maybe, I don't know. It's just hard. Yeah, it's hard to do science in certain areas. It's hard to do. Yeah, it's hard to talk about like why certain pieces of music make you feel the way that they make you feel without really having like a spiritual conversation or like a philosophical conversation that goes outside the bounds of music theory or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and to kind of go back to that thing is that like you played your music, Nick understood it.
Yeah.
I felt it.
Yeah. In a way that the rest of the what chord is he playing, or what, like how high in the range, and like the melody did a thing in this direction, like that doesn't matter whenever like you said truth in some way and it connected.
Yeah, I didn't even know what I wanted to play with him. I didn't know and that song that I'm thinking of, it's one I use the bow on, and it's so fun to just like play these really pretty lines while you're singing. But that just came supernaturally as well.
Yeah.
Because it's been quite a bit actually. Where can people find you in your things? I know there's probably not like an official thing, but at least how can they keep up with?
Yeah, right. I mean, we kind of just confirmed our band name here on the spot, so that's real helpful. I mean, we're both on Instagram, but it's just our individual personal accounts.
We could make an Instagram account for our music.
Yeah. Anybody listening, stay tuned. Big things
Big
coming.
things coming soon.
Yeah. Compost Adjacent.
At least plug your own things that you want people to see.
Yeah. But yeah, Compost Adjacent will be here in Oklahoma City. Actually, we will be playing
doing compost.
We will be composting every Saturday, 9 to noon.
That's not even Compost Adjacent.
No, that is actually compost.
But we are adjacent to compost while we're there.
Right. And that is a good meetup ground.
It doesn't smell too bad. We do it right.
Yeah,
but sometimes it does.
Yeah, there's plenty of coffee grounds. It neutralizes the smell.
They smell good.
Sometimes
it grows. I don't want to gross people out, but like sometimes we get like coffee grounds from like local coffee shops, and there's like a little like layer of like this neon green mold. So but it still smells like great. Like smells like coffee because it's so strong.
Mint chocolate coffee.
Yeah, it's like it's like mint coffee. Yeah.
We are playing at a nowhere near here. There's a music festival of sorts in Tyler area in East Texas called the Junebug Festival.
Yes. We're trying to get big in East Texas for some reason.
For some reason, we're trying to get big in a place that is conveniently too far away.
Shout out to our friend Cadence, who lives there and is connecting us with the cool people and cool artists that she's meeting.
For real.
Anyways, my Instagram is in Alan Writes. I post about my writing stuff. I post music stuff. Anything that I'm like involved in, I'll try to promote there.
And then it looks like Ryan is looking up his Instagram handle.
This is not helpful. R Smith TXCO 123. So good luck.
You're trying to get people not to follow you.
We don't want you to listen to us ever.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you guys for doing this with me.
Oh, thank you for having us. This is special.
It was fun.
Truly.
I'm Santiago Ramones.
I'm Ryan.
Nicholas.
Dripping from exhaustion, another sleepless night, feelings of resentment, the poison of my life, one for me to drink, for her to feel the pain, but it's only my shame. How am I the only one to blame? Troubled love is what we had, static movements fade to black. But I'll let it linger. If you don't wanna be here, I'm driving myself crazy. The feelings you've been after, I can't pretend that I'll be the one, haunted by the Lord above. He's crying at what I've done. Empty wells in her joys past. What we'd hoped for didn't seem to last. Bringing up hope just to let it fall down, seething rage, feeling lonesome in my own town, moving on what I need to want, but my heart's fixed to have me stuck.
You can find everything that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music and produce audio. The music you're hearing now is music I made. You can listen to official releases by Santiago Ramones on Spotify, Apple Music, and the other streaming places. Or you can support me directly by buying my music on Bandcamp. I'm working on Hypothetical, my first singer-songwriter album, so if you'd like to hear that at some point, I'm so close, I promise. There are lots of ways to support me on my website. There's a Discord server in which we discuss deep topics from the podcast, but it's also a community of beautiful human beings. All the links to these things are on my website, santiagoramones.com. Please take a moment to rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts if you listen there. It means a lot to me to hear what you have to say about it, and you're helping me without having to spend a single cent on me. I want to help the world have deeper conversations, so thank you for listening to and supporting Bit Depth. I was in the podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Those 3 things are: love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong.